It was one of those great, lonely afternoons when life seemed to move in slow motion. Traffic was thick, the rain had just begun to fall, and everyone was in a rush to get somewhere anywhere but here. Among the sea of the vehicles inching forward, John Kennedy, a 37-year-old marketing executive from Nashville, sat behind the wheel of his silver sedan, half listening to the radio, half lost in his thoughts. That's when he saw it, a hand-painted cardboard sign on the side of the road that simply read, $5 for a hug. At first, John chuckled. It seemed like another roadside gimmick, a desperate attempt to make a few bucks. But something about the man holding the sign caught his attention. He wasn't shouting, wasn't begging. He stood there quietly, soaked by the drizzle, with a faint smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. His clothes were worn, his shoes scuffed, but his eyes, those deep, tired eyes, told a story John couldn't look away from. Traffic crawled forward, and John's logical side said to keep driving. "You don't stop for strangers," he muttered to himself. But something in his chest tugged hard. Against every instinct, he pulled over to the curb. The man looked surprised as John rolled down his window. "You really charging $5 for a hug?" John asked, forcing a small smile. The man nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said softly. "Not because I want the money, just a broken bar. Some people feel better if they have to give something first." John paused, unsure how to respond. There was sincerity in the man's voice, something raw, something real. Without overthinking it, he turned off the engine, stepped into the rain, and held out his arms. "How about I take one of those hugs?" What happened next stunned him. The man hesitated for a moment, then embraced him tightly, longer and stronger than John expected. It wasn't just a friendly pat on the back, it was a hug full of pain, gratitude, and years of unspoken loneliness. John felt the man's shoulders tremble. For a few seconds, the world went silent. The noise of honking cars, the rain, everything faded away. It was just two human beings, strangers sharing something real in a world that often forgets how to care. When they finally pulled apart, the man wiped his eyes and whispered, "Thank you. You don't know how much I needed that." Job handed him the $5 bill anyway, but the man shook his head. "Keep it," he said. "You already paid me back." Curious, John asked for his name. "Michael," the man said. "Used to be a mechanic. Lost my wife 3 years ago. Then the job, then the house. Been trying to get back on my feet." People used to stop and talk, but lately, they just pass by. "So I figured out, if no one's gonna care, maybe I'll remind them that hugs still exist." John stood there in silence, the rain running down his face, unsure if it was rain or tears. He offered to buy Michael lunch, and together they went to a nearby diner. Over sandwiches and steaming coffee, Michael shared pieces of his life. How his wife used to tell him that no one is ever too broken to be loved. How he made that sign on a night when he felt invisible, hoping someone, anyone, would see him. When they finished, John felt something shift inside him. He wasn't just moved, he was changed. He realized how disconnected the world had become, how often people walk past others without seeing them. Before leaving, John pulled out his phone and asked if he could record Michael's story. "If it helps just one person remember what kindness feels like," Michael said. "Then sure." That short video went viral within days. Millions watched as Michael's quiet strength and vulnerability reached across screens and hearts. Donations began pouring in, not just money, but job offers, letters, and messages of love. Within a month, Michael had a small apartment, a steady job, and something he hadn't had in years: a hope. John and Michael stayed friends. In fact, they began visiting shelters together, offering free hugs, not for $5, but for free, as a reminder that connection doesn't have a price tag. When reporters later asked John why he stopped that day, he said, "Because I realized I was the one who needed the hug." In a world often divided by fear and distance, one small moment of compassion bridged the gaps between two strangers. John thought he was helping a man on the side of the road, but in truth, Michael helped him rediscover the humanity that lives inside us all. And maybe that's the real message. You never know whose life you'll change when you take a moment to stop, look up, and simply care.